One of my goals as a professor is to try to change the expectations of the professor, the teacher, student relationship. Because I've been confronted with more examples and more, because of the way this semester has gone on its journey and my interactions with students, I realized that, what I think is still this sort of ingrained expectation of position of authority, not wanting to be open and communicative with the environment because you believe something, whether through culture, media, personal experiences, there's this idea that there's a sort of a invisible wall. There's a glass wall between the relationship of a professor and a student, and it's hard to bridge that divide a lot of times because of preconceived conceptions. And I'm trying my best to let my students know that I think that's bullshit. I think we can create an environment that you're there to learn and you're hungry to learn, and I'm there to teach and I'm hungry to teach. And it can be a joyous space. It can be a space of joy. It can be a space free of stress and burden. Of course, you have to time manage. You have to be able to do your work. You have to do it. There are life lessons that need to be learned. But sometimes there's this layer of stress that's put on it that I don't think is necessary. And I need to do a better job of reminding my students that I'm a big advocate of speaking what it is that's important to me out loud, right? Talk it, bring it into the light. Don't try to assume anything. So, I think one of the things I'm going to start adding into my first week, add in more to my first week, but then add in more throughout the semester is, I am here to redefine the expectation, what it means to be a professor and what this relationship means as a professor to student relationship, and how can we redefine it? How can I expect you? I believe, like I've talked previously, you are now an adult. If you're in this environment, you are an adult and you should be acting like an adult. And how can I expect that from you? I don't want to hold your hand. I don't want to babysit you. I want to support you, but I don't want to babysit you. And so how can we expect that relationship? And so that's kind of there's this idea. I'll keep working on how I'll phrase it more, but it's basically I want them to feel comfortable and be able to come to me and be able to know that this doesn't need to be stressful. One of the example that I hold in my mind the most is this idea of when assignments are due. For me, I'd much rather you did the work and turned it in a week late and got it done than stress about getting it done on the due date and don't do good work, or something, or just don't do it at all, or whatever. So it's I was thinking about this scenario of a student could possibly, if they showed up every day and were working, but for some reason they just couldn't seem to turn in the final assignments on the final due dates. I would be turn it all in at once at the end of the semester, and it's not going to affect your grade because you've been here the whole time. You've been engaging in the class. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Communicate what's going on. So there's this soup of kind of expectations and realities that, I'm a lot, I was telling one of my students this week too, or a couple actually, I think I brought up, it's really hard to fail my class, but I'm also trying to make it really hard to get an A in my class. So basically nobody's really ever gets below a C in my classes. What's the point of giving somebody a D? I don't know. So it's C is where it kind of bottoms out, and then F is failing, and if you're gonna it means you just never showed up. The only way you could really fail my class is if you never show up. So, but I'm also trying to make it hard to get an A. I don't want it just to be easy A's either. You have to show up, do the work, participate, look like you actually care, and be there, and that's a big element. So trying to make it hard to get an A, but also it's also really hard to fail my classes. But basically, redefining expectations of that relationship between professor and student is sort of a goal of mine, because I don't know, it all ties back into what I think college is for. College is for teaching students how to learn, and teaching, it's not for the knowledge, it's for how to learn the knowledge. It's for expanding on the knowledge. It's for it's for conversations and community building and growth. It's not just for memorize this information out of this idea. It's about what you do with it and how you interact with it. And that a lot of that comes down to the interaction with your professor, interaction with your peers. So that's one. So I want to remind my students that, and then so I want to do, like, how I do midterm meetings. I want to find a space that I can do a midterm reminder of, like, okay, this is what I told you at the beginning of the semester. This is what's important. I'm going to remind you all now at the middle of the semester that this is still what's important, because I feel like I've experienced students forgetting. Like, they didn't really hear me at the beginning, partly because, we're all new. They didn't know me. Maybe moving forward will be easier because I'm having students that will repeat. So students will bring the culture of my classes to the next class. So they'll help build the culture from a place of knowledge about the culture. So I'm looking forward to that. But I also want to remind that more often and be like, this is what's important. It's important that you're here participating. Dates and deadlines aren't as important to me. What's important is that you're communicating, you're here, you're participating, you're being an active participant in the culture, in the environment. That's what's important to me.